Hey YouTube, it's Russ with Wrenching with Russ. Today I'm going to show you how to put a set of struts on a 2016 Chevy Tahoe. And if you're like me, I was a little intimidated at first because there's a lot of different features with this suspension, but this is probably one of the easiest set of struts I've ever put on. So let me get started. I'm going to show you how to do this. So obviously we're working off a lift. That's the easiest way to get to this, but if you have to use a jack, try to get this as level as you can, eye level. And the first thing you want to do is you got two bolts that go on the bottom that hold this strut in. And I'm showing you right where the bolts are. It's going to be a 15 millimeter and an 18 millimeter for the top and bottom. And you just take these two bolts out of the bottom, and then you go up to the top. And there's three bolts that hold this on the top. So you take the two bottom bolts loose, you take your top three bolts loose, and then make sure that you unplug your electrical connection. So you just got to dig around in it a little bit till you find it. On that electrical connection, there's going to be a little gray tab. You pull that gray tab back. It's a locking tab. You pull that back, and then you disconnect your electrical connection on top to the strut. That's the only connection that it has. All right, so once you get these three bolts loose, the strut just pushes in. You take the bottom of it, push it in, just like that, and then you drop it down about halfway, and then it comes back out through the top. And again, make sure you have your electrical connection disconnected. You just pull it through, and then this strut just lifts straight out. You should have plenty of room in there. We did. So once you get it out, that's all there is to it. Now your new one's going to come with the nuts on the post. So make sure you take those off. And if you're like us, you don't want to reuse any old parts if you don't have to. So always try to use all the new stuff that comes with it. And again, we're just going to take the three nuts off. And we're going to reverse this process. So you just take your new strut, and then you put it through, just like that. Drop it down. And then once you get it in place, you just push your wire back through the top for your connection. And then you just lift the strut up and remount it. And again, using the new nuts that came with it. This whole process takes probably a half hour. Like I said, it's one of the easiest struts I've ever put in. I was a little more intimidated thinking because of this suspension ride that it was going to be a little tougher, but it's actually pretty easy to do. And then once you get your three nuts back on there, and we just put them on loose for now, so that way we can make our adjustments at the bottom. Then you find your plug. As you can see, I have three arms, so it works out real well. And then pull your plug out, leave your nuts on top loose, and that way you can move this bottom in. And then this control arm, you just pull everything down. Just kind of drop your body weight on the rotor, and it'll pull everything down, and then you slide the bottom of this strut right in place. And it pops right into place, and it comes with two bolts on the bottom, and these bolt up from the bottom. And I think if you take this to the dealership, price with these struts and with this labor is like $1,500 for these two struts. It's just astronomical how much they charge to put these on. And again, you can probably get these off the internet pretty reasonable. And we've already screwed up a lot on these things, so we've worked out all the bugs, so that way you don't have to. So just watch our videos, and then you can learn how to put these in yourself and save tons of money. And as you know, I always say, why pay someone else thousands of dollars to do it when you can do it yourself? So here we just tighten everything down to wrenching with Russ torque specs. And we just make sure that everything is secured, because with these you definitely don't want any vibrations. You don't want any loose bolts or nuts, because you're going to feel it throughout that whole frame. Anything in the front that's loose is going to travel. The noise is going to travel throughout that whole cab, and you're going to hear it all in the floor. You're going to hear it in the steering. You're going to think everything's coming apart, and it's simply a loose bolt or loose nut. A lot of times we get that with sway bars. We get the bushings and sway bar links. Everybody thinks the front of their car's falling off. And then with these on the bottom, we just hand tighten these with a wrench. And then we go back and use our battery operated tools where we get more torque on it, because you don't want anything loose. But we just hand tighten them for now, just to keep everything in place and keep it from shifting. And here we're going back and tightening them down. And then the final process in this step, we always double check, make sure everything's tight again. And then the factory wiring harness on top comes with these plastic retainers, and they actually just slip right over the bolts that are already in place that came with your new strut. So you just slide those back in the same spot. And we always wait till the last minute before we finish it up to plug everything in. That way if we have to take everything apart for some reason, that way we don't have to dismantle it again. So now the last thing you got to do is plug your electrical connection in. So again, it's helpful to have 3 arms like I have here. And then you just take your plug, you find the other end of it, and then on this one here, make sure that you have that gray little clip, little retainer clip, pulled all the way out. And I'll show you in a second here when I get it out, because if it's pushed in, it will not lock, and then you're subject to actually have this plug come apart during while you're driving it for vibration and stuff, and these struts moving up down, it could pull this plug apart. So make sure that that little gray retainer is back all the way before you plug this in. And then here's what I'm showing you right there. What I got my hands on there is that little gray retainer. Make sure it's snapped, and then you slide lock it again and give it a little tug just to make sure it's not coming apart. Push everything back up in there. Pull your skirt or your inner fender back over top everything, and that's all there is to it. And this absolutely does not take very long at all. So if you liked it, do me a favor, subscribe and hit that like button, and we'll see you on the next video.